Nice. All right, so this is what we're doing right now. We are going to watch this, going to react, and I hope I can give my input on this Jubilee video on the rich and versus poor video they just put on a couple days ago. And the reason why I really wanted to do this, because I do have thoughts about this whole video. I saw like the first two questions about it and their debates on it. And I definitely felt like I I can give some input in this video. And another reason why is because I can actually I don't play the audio on here, and I'm actually gonna be able to show you guys my my Battlefield my Battlefield gameplay, when because before I couldn't do it, and I just told y'all I play Battlefield, but now you can actually see me play Battlefield. Holy shit! It's exciting for me, exciting. But here we go. We're gonna play the video.
Step forward if you agree. Being poor is a choice. Agree.
Hold on, let's go back. There we go.
Step forward if you agree. Being poor is a choice.
It's not. Being poor is not a choice. Like, it's like being poor is a choice, being brown is a choice, being white is a choice, being like, I think a lot more accuracy to that is like being Christian is a choice. I know a lot of people are born into their religion, and it's like very difficult to come out of that religion, because you have a lot of people in a lot of family, and like a lot of people's lives are based on that, because you have to go to church, and that's like pretty much, it could be like that's the only people you see. So if you try to break out of that, it could be very difficult to do so. And it's the same as religion. It could be very difficult to break out of that. Being poor, I mean.
I do not want to be disingenuous to ignore systemic issues that we all experience, but I feel like it's 2021 and there's a lot of free resources. I mean, Facebook has a lot of free courses. I think that poor is also a mindset.
I agree. Originally, when I came out here, I started straight at the homeless shelter. I had to flee from domestic violence from my family. Most people in general don't choose to be poor, but since I've been here, specifically in LA, a lot of people outside, they don't want to come into the shelter because they'd rather be in the tents.
I mean, I grew
This feels like the survivor argument, which a lot of people use. I think specifically for this, it's like, oh, like anybody can make, just because I made it, just because you made it just doesn't mean like everybody could make it. You know what I'm saying? Because like other people have different struggles that you do not like know and do not like understand yet. Like you can say, oh, I had it pretty hard. Like I had my both of my parents were very poor, and you know they didn't have that much money to raise me. Well, you were and then you're comparing yourself to other people who are poor in that situation, but you had both of your parents, and you probably didn't know that as like an example, like some person that is probably like in your class, or you see as like as you're being poor, like right next to you, you know, they could be like in a single mother, they're only their first mother, their I mean not first mother, but their only mother can raise them, and they don't have like a father figure, or don't have another like income that can help them out in the home, like other like your parents could.
Okay.
And also how she said about how some people don't want to go into homeless shelters. I don't know about this personally, but this could be a little anecdotal, but I saw a video about this homeless person. He says that one reason why he doesn't go to homeless shelters, because a lot of homeless shelters are run by gangs, and a lot of those gangs have make the homeless people do some horrible shit for them. Like they could give them get them addicted to the drugs so they can actually be like where the homeless people can do anything to get the drugs. And another reason why is another way it could be bad is a lot of these drug dealers can and gang members can make the homeless people sell drugs for them, and that's a reason why a lot of homeless people don't go into shelters. So maybe she was lucky enough to find a shelter that did not have any gangs in it. It didn't have gangs around the area, or didn't have gangs controlling that homeless shelter.
So I have been on both sides of the coin, and I can reflect and look back on some of the lifestyle choices that I was making, some of the people that I was hanging around. So I don't think that people can initially control if they're born into poverty, but I think that there is a certain level of control that comes along with being able to have that determination and that resilience.
Can I have the disagreeer step forward?
We need to realize that these people are on the street not because of their own choosing, but because of the system that we live in perpetuates these things.
If I could speak to that, I come from a family that once relied on welfare and food stamps, and I have been blessed enough to make millions of dollars in real estate. But had I bought real estate from 2005 to 2008, I'd probably be bankrupt today. I just bought it at the right time.
People wish to be rich, they don't want to be rich. The difference is, do you take action? That being said, I agree with a lot of your points you're making about people not really having the resources or the opportunity to have any kind of action plan.
Some people don't even want to be rich. Like, I don't want to be rich. But I also don't want to be poor. I'm happy in the middle. And I would want to live in a society where they could perpetuate people to lift themselves out of poverty through programs and just be in the middle.
Billionaires should not exist.
True. I would step forward for this one. I do not think billionaires should exist.
I don't see how anyone could ever spend $1 billion. It's not a necessity to have that much money, and I feel like there is a certain cap in which, like, you can completely survive and thrive with this amount of money, and then if you surpass that, you're just hoarding.
And then we've seen what people with billions of dollars are doing with their money. They're going to space for fun. Like, clearly, if we tax those people properly, get their wealth and distribute it to people who need it, that'd be a much better use than going to space for fun.
I completely agree. A lot of people don't
Personally,
have
I don't think there's
as
an
much
issue
money
with
and
billionaires
like
existing. The issue
shit
for
that they
me
need.
is that they need to be held accountable the same way poor people do. And I'm talking about the justice system.
When you look at a lot of billionaires who have gotten that way because of the just incredible amount of value they've given to society, I won't even talk about a huge, crazy billionaire. I'll talk about Jay-Z, who's a billionaire. He made amazing music. That's how he became a billionaire. And so I don't think it's the government's job to interject and say, okay, you have too much, we need to give it away. I mean, it would also never happen in any other arena. No one's gonna go, hey, Simone Biles, you have too many gold medals. We're gonna take them from you and we're gonna give them to the other people who weren't.
Well, that's a false equivocation, because when it comes to, because he's talking about Jay-Z and Jay-Z's money, yeah, you can redistribute that to other people who don't have enough money, but you can't really do that with metals, because a lot of people, a metal is just a metal. Like, what can you do? I guess you can try to sell it, but you're not going to get that steady income over time. You're not going to get much value out of it, since it's just like a metal, and since it's not something, a metal is not something you need to live in the society like money. Money you need to live to have housing. You need to live to buy food and just to survive, and you don't need that for a metal. So I don't like this equivocation.
Weren't as talented as you.
I completely agree.
I completely disagree. I feel like that is the government's job. And Jay-Z, like you said, Jay-Z made his money from music. That's his labor. He's a musician. He's selling his talent. But then when he invested in the alcohol, then he's using other people who are harvesting the wheat. the agave.
Damn.
They're breaking their back. They're using their labor.
So do you think that you shouldn't invest in those people? Should
God,
they
this
just
guy is so
say,
based.
"To hell with your dreams, I'm not going to invest
I think
in
he's
you"?
a comrade.
I'm
What,
saying.
what about the job?
What do you
they're,
mean?
They're having jobs.
Yeah, but how much are they getting paid for the jobs? Or those jobs in the third world where they're getting paid pennies,
Yeah,
and then
versus
Jay-Z
no
makes
job.
millions off their labor.
How much do you pay your employees?
You think harvesting
than
isn't
enough?
going to exist if Jay-Z doesn't
Wait.
invest?
Oh, he asked her a question. How much do you pay employees? She said enough. What the fuck is enough? Enough for an employer would be like minimum wage. That's enough, but that's starving wage right now. That's not enough for a worker. So I don't understand what she means by enough.
If I may interject, I pay my employees like incredibly well, and I let them choose their own hours. Someone who works for me is a single mother. I pay her $50 an hour, and I think that people that are providing jobs and opportunities, you can hate on them all you want, but at the end of the day, like nobody would work that job if it wasn't in some way, shape, or form worth it.
I mean, that is true. Some shape or form is worth it, but that worth it is in this society is you work, or if you don't work, you die. You know, so of course it's gonna be worth it. Anything will be worth it. You don't want, like some of these families would think putting their children into to get what's it called, blood diamonds, and to a lot of these kids get killed because they trying to receive these diamonds. You know, that to them is worth it. That should not be right in the world.
People who make
that
$1
should not be
billion
allowed.
get a fraction of the value they create. Everybody here who has a business understands that. Even Jay-Z only gets 15 cents a record he sells. Okay?
Yes, that's
so
because he got exploited by the record label who's using his
True.
label
No,
to make money. It's the same
you
thing
keep using this word
when he
exploiting like
invests.
you understand the record business, of which I am in. Okay? Record labels back hundreds of artists. Do you know?
God, this guy is part of the record label. I don't trust him one bit. Anything that comes out of his mouth, I do not trust one bit because he's part of the fucking record industry, and I do not trust the record industry one bit, the music industry, because their whole job is not like to lie to you, but a lot of them do lie in order to get like the most out of an artist. You know, so I do not trust a single word coming out of his mouth.
Go busto? Okay? They're taking risk in an artist by the tapes, paying the engineers, marketing, etc. They're exploiting them. They're taking on a bet. And they can't just give everybody 50-50. They'll go bankrupt. You don't understand the record business, and you're just yelling out these words exploiting like you know what you're talking about, but you don't.
That's why
they're not exploiting.
That's why there's one Jay-Z and not millions
Exactly.
of them.
I
And we're
actually
not
want
trying
to ask a question of how you define exploited and why you're saying that.
I'm using exploited in the Marxian term where your labor.
Oh,
creates
this guy is
value,
a comrade.
and the employer
Yes.
Takes that value and distributes it
I like him.
unevenly to themselves and then leaves the rest for the workers. That's exploitation. My name is David. I work.
Yes,
for
I'm
Disney
rooting
in the
for you.
Entertainment character department, and I make around $33,000 a year.
How's your experience been working at Disneyland?
My experience working at Disneyland is very mixed. The workers themselves, like my coworkers, are amazing people. Unfortunately, the company is not so great. They don't pay us that much. They have enough money to pay us more. I think they should just pay us more. But I don't think they're going to do that. That's
true.
why I'm advocating for a union to bargain in our favor.
My name is Ginny, and I run
Nice.
a software design agency. And this year, I'm going to be taking home about
And it's kind of since the union's not in there, it's kind of brave for him to come out and say that he's advocating for a union, because if their employers see this, they could fire him for saying that and trying to do that.
$400,000. When I started my business, that was like all consuming for me. Everything I did in my life was for business. And so I think my partner felt a lot of neglect. And so a lot of our arguments, a lot of the times that we had issues were because of my absence.
The economy is rigged.
I agree. A bit.
If you're born in a rich family, you have more opportunities. And as someone who is poor, living paycheck to paycheck, you're stuck having to apply to jobs and settle for things that you don't like instead of being able to follow your passions.
I agree and disagree. I agree that it's rigged to incentivize certain areas and behaviors, like we have millions and millions of farm subsidies, so it supports agribusiness. It may support one area like real estate or capital investment over labor, but I don't think it's generally rigged to basically keep the rich guy rich and the poor guy poor. That part I'll disagree. But there are certain policies like the reinvestment in productive people's hands for building real estate. I would say that's a good thing. Right?
When you
I
say
don't think,
productive people, like, do you just mean people with money?
no, I mean people that actually take that
No,
money,
he means that.
organize people, put it to work, and create value. That's what I mean by productive people.
But who creates the value? It's the workers who create the value.
True.
Listen, there's people who take risk and they risk their money. That's creating value. What you discount is the person willing to risk their savings, okay, and provide capital for that venture and to be paid last. So if it goes busto, the worker still gets paid, the investor doesn't. If it goes well, the worker gets paid and the investor makes money. You discount the role of capital and savings in any type of venture. Like my mom didn't want to be rich. She wanted to be a school teacher and work and do that and live in the middle ground, and that's fine. But there are people like me who want to take a lot of risk and get a lot of reward. And we put that capital to work. And you should respect that. Hi, my name is Bill Perkins. I run a hedge fund. I do investments and other things. I manage.
So
my
he
own
runs.
money. How much I
Okay.
make annually, sometimes I lose money, but I'd say on average over 10.
He wants
I
my
took care of
respect, but
dad
he
in the
just
last
said he
years of
runs
his
a
life.
hedge fund. Okay.
He died broke. I did not inherit my money. I made it myself. I really don't care about the money. Money is a tool for me to have the experiences that I want to have out of life. And there are many experiences that I want to have.
Damn.
You have to have a certain level of awareness and knowledge to know the rules of the game. And I think that there are barriers put in place to kind of prevent people from knowing the rules, but I think that it's out there and you can have access to it, and it's, you know, I think that knowing the rules is different.
I know the rules, and I think they're disgusting. That's why I want to
Well,
change
why don't you
them.
play the game then? I mean, you can.
Wait,
I think
what?
they're disgusting. Why would I want to play
Yeah.
the game?
As a real estate guy,
He
I can
said
make
he
millions
wanted
of
to
dollars
change them,
and use
which
the
is-
exact same tax loopholes that a Donald Trump would use and
Exactly.
pay effectively no tax. And does that make me a bad guy, or did I just
Yes.
study the tax code?
It makes you a bad guy, yeah.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yes.
You do that? Yeah.
I'm following
Absolutely.
the law to a T.
The law is wrong. Yeah.
Why is it wrong? It's the
But
law.
I'm not.
You think just because of the law, it's always right?
No, certainly not. Certainly
No,
not.
I'm not
Exactly.
saying
But
that.
that's my point.
I'm
No,
not
the
saying
law is
that,
written
but
to encourage investment, is which they want. So he's investing. So like the law is written to encourage certain things. If you disagree with it, you can go lobby and change. But he's not a bad guy.
I know you
No, he
mentioned
is a
that
bad
there
person
are
for
barriers
that.
in place that do keep people
Because he already has so much money compared to other people, and he's letting other people who don't have that much money pay their more taxes, and while he's just getting richer and richer. That's why the saying the poor get poorer and the rich get richer, because a lot of them don't pay their fair share of taxes because they use loopholes. So yes, using a loophole does make you a bad person. I don't understand this.
in impoverished conditions, but I don't think that we all acknowledge like the mental.
Well, that's where I was going. So if I can reflect on myself, I mean, I remember when I was living in poverty, I was just trying to survive. So I didn't even have the brain capacity to try or the willpower to kind of even desire to access the rules of the economy. But I mean, I had an epiphany, and I literally woke up one day and I was like, I cannot live the rest of my life like this, and I don't care if people call me lame, square, they're gonna question my blackness. I mean, I don't care. I'm getting
Right.
out.
Well, speaking about blackness, do you think there's a correlation between people from the African diaspora and people of color and poverty? You don't think there's like a relationship there?
It's true that, you know, I belong to a community that makes less than certain other communities. That's true. Significantly less. But you can't look at differences between groups and say it's only because of systems. Systems played a huge deal to it. I'm not discounting that at all. Like, it's a real big deal, and we're working to change
You're
that.
kind of-
But also, I mean,
kind of
statistically,
downplaying
like,
it a little bit.
people from my old neighborhood and people, you know, around in these communities, they spend about 50% more on shoes than people who are not in those neighborhoods. And it's like, man, that.
Well, not only that, Todd, but I think I looked up a recent statistic that said that Asian households, their children tend to study 13 to 15 hours a week, where in a black household, it's like 3 hours a week.
I know you said it's not like a race issue, but when you think about the way that we got here as like African people, it was a race issue.
I like how you said about how a lot of poor people usually buy material shit instead of like investing. I think that's what he said. A lot of that can go down to schooling, like proper schooling, and I know a lot of richer kids go to private schools instead of public schools. A lot of these public schools can be underfunded and cannot like teach their children, teach the students well because they're underfunded, and that is definitely and can be a cause to why poor people usually spend their money on material wealth instead of like investing in other shit because they weren't taught to do so in schools. So that's another reason why rich people should pay more in taxes.
We didn't have a chance to discover America like the other people did. So I feel like how you had mentioned that Asian Americans, they study more than black households. You don't feel like those communities are kind of socialized in their upbringing to be more inclined to care about their finances as opposed to like African Americans, we would rather look rich than actually be rich. I think that's a part of like our community.
It's a culture, it's a choice.
Well, it's
not a choice.
I don't
To a certain extent.
I think it's a choice.
2021.
I do think it's a choice. I'm not going to say it's not a choice, but I'm saying, do you feel like some people don't have the same
Yeah, it's not a
choices as other
choice.
people's in different
I
communities?
think some people don't have the mental capacity.
I don't think it's a choice personally because I do believe that you are shaped more by your environment than you do by, I guess, like genetics. So me personally, I think the reason why they do that is because their environment tells them to, and if you put them in a different environment, they won't believe that anymore. But the reason why they believe that because they were put in that environment by wealthier people and by what you call it, redlining. By redlining is a big deal, and also by the war on drugs, by putting people in prisons, and it won't allow them to accumulate wealth as easily.
To allocate the energy to learn the rules of the game, quote unquote, because their instincts are kicking in to just survive.
I think trauma plays a heavier role than we like to account for. Trauma is the reason why I'm here. I come from a family, a heavily cult Islamic family, and the things that I was doing in my life they didn't agree with. They pretty much sent people to my house to kill me. I was set up multiple times. They hacked my social media pages, both my iPhones, you know what I mean? So I don't want to just kind of ignore trauma as if it doesn't really matter in terms of what you are capable of doing, because people that are traumatized and people that do deal with a lot of oppression tend to get some of their choices removed.
God, that took forever to reload.
I can acknowledge that, yes.
My name is Hanifa. I'm an author, and I'm currently homeless, so I don't make any money right now. I grew up Muslim my entire life, and in Islam, it is permissible to marry your cousin, so my family enforced sexual acts in between cousins. It led to me having to flee my hometown and go all the way to California, which is 2,600 miles away, just so that I could avoid
I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know that much about Islam.
I'm worried where my next meal will come from.
Me and my partner right now are applying for EBT because we are just like living check to check right now, and I'm supporting both of us because she just lost her job. We are like literally trying to get help from the government so that we can know that we have the funds to get groceries. It's so hard, and it feels like it's not as accessible as people make it seem.
But what's going on? Did she say something?
To have everything stripped away from you and to not know where you're gonna sleep.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
It's just
that is very
difficult.
scary.
You know, it almost feels like a past life of having like everything. You know, I had bags. I had to take my.
Thankfully, I was never in a position where I didn't know like when my next meal was coming from. Thankfully, my parents did well enough to always be able to afford a meal every day. So I don't understand that feeling, but I do think about that sometimes, and it definitely does. It's scary. So I can't imagine how it feel to actually be going through that situation. Oh wait, die in the video game, die in Battlefield. Come on, I got him. Fuck.
My little Michael Kors back to the pawn shop, take every item of clothing that I had to Plato's Closet so that I could buy a one-way ticket for myself and my child. I didn't know what we were gonna eat. I didn't know where we were gonna sleep, and not to be a victim, but it's not my fault why I'm here, you know? It's because I speak out against cult behavior. I speak out against pedophilia, and publishing my story has the domino effect of that has led me to not knowing where I'm gonna eat, and I've never had that happen to me before prior to 4 months ago, and that's just really tough.
Thank you for sharing your story. That's really powerful. And
God
if
damn,
need
you got
help,
ran
like,
over.
After this, let's just talk. That pulls on my heartstrings because my mother raised us 3 kids by herself, and my father was a wife beater. He was also a child molester. So anyone listening can connect the dots on that. I feel for you.
I almost want to jump out because there's only a short period of time, you know, just that short period of time when you're busted or whatever, and you're just like whatever. But you guys were like in the real thick of it. You guys were in the trenches. I visited the trenches for like a couple
You had a
months.
toe.
I had a toe in the trenches, you know?
So I'm getting paid paycheck to paycheck, and on top of that, I have a crippling gambling addiction. I'm addicted to weed. I'm addicted to alcohol. I'm addicted to vaping. And as soon as I have that direct
Addicted
deposit,
to weed? What?
it's like I have no
I
control.
guess you
Almost
can
like I
be
go
addicted
like
to
I
it.
black out and I start
mentally, but not
gambling,
physically.
Start ordering drinks, start ordering weed, and then I come out of that no control feeling, and I'm like thinking, how am I gonna feed my pets this week? My cat, my dog. Like I had all these plans up to my payday. Before I know it, all my money's gone, and it's addiction.
When you're in a position when you don't have a lot of money, you can't do a lot of things for fun, and you're often just like working. I have to survive, I have to feed myself. And so when you get that paycheck and you have just a little bit of enough money to do something that will spark joy for you, it's so hard to be like, no, I'll put it aside to save. It's like, I'll just do this one thing for myself, I'll just treat myself. And then it's like, well, now it's gone.
I completely understand what you're saying, and I used to think like that too, but I also thought about how joyful it would be to be rich. I would rather not have that instant gratification because the gratification of being infinitely stable or more stable is more important. My name is Brittany. I am a holistic health practitioner, and I make around $130,000 a year. My relationship with my brother has literally crumbled since I have acquired more money. He only calls me when he needs something. The only person that I really have a relationship is my mom. I haven't spoken to my brother. I want them to be happy and, and successful more than anything. But it almost feels dehumanizing to be looked at as just the help and not a sister or a cousin or something like that, yeah.
My name is Mia, and I'm currently working as a customer service representative for a movie.
I mean, you can't help your family, you know. If your brother needs some money and if you have like more to spend, I'm not saying give it to him. I'm saying if he has like a drug addiction or like a reason why he's doing that, you have the money to like solve the issue there. So I don't really understand it that much.
Moving and storage company, I make $45K a year. My family has always been like, oh, you gotta look presentable,
this map
you gotta
again?
look nice whenever we're going out to eat or to the mall. But as an adult, a lot of my money isn't going towards buying new clothes or jewelry, makeup, whatever it might be. So you'll catch me in like sweats and a t-shirt, and I just don't feel presentable enough to be at the mall, to be at a restaurant because of that embarrassing feeling and shame of not investing more in how I present myself.
The disagreeer.
You're just hanging out back there.
I feel like I misunderstood the prompt.
So have you ever worried about where your next meal was gonna come from? Ever?
Yeah, this feels like a more
I definitely
personal
have, like, when I
thing.
was in
So
college,
can't really
I was trying to
debate
buy
this
groceries, and
question.
The lady behind me ended up paying groceries for me, and it's so embarrassing because my card got maxed out and I had no money in the bank account, basically.
$15 an hour is not enough for minimum wage.
Depends where you are. If you're like, if I live like in a small town, that is enough. But if you're living in a city and most people are living in cities, $15 an hour is just not enough. So I think I would go up there, say it is not enough, because most people live in cities and they definitely need more than $50 an hour to live comfortably in that city.
I did have a question for you two. You both mentioned that you suffer from addiction and that as soon as you get a paycheck, it's gone, whether it's gambling or weed or shopping or whatever. If you had a higher income, would that change?
Personally, yes, because the whole reason I gamble is like, let me get that $60,000 win and I'll stop gambling. That's my mindset, right? And another thing is, I feel like if I were to have like passive income, I guess you can say, or be financially stable, I can pursue and distract myself with my actual passions. Like, I want to start a true crime YouTube channel, but I don't have the laptop, I don't have the camera. The addiction takes control, so I don't think about the things I don't have, and I just feel numb and thoughtless, and I'm just enjoying my TV. And so yeah, I feel like it would change. I would be able to have other distractions that are beneficial to me in a positive way.
If you had more money, you could probably have access to help, like medical help.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
psychiatrist.
Yes.
Because that's
Therapist,
really
yeah.
expensive, and you can't afford it living off of minimum wage, you know.
I feel like a lot of jobs will pay minimum wage, but they will expect maximum effort.
For
And I'm
real,
like, if you're
so
gonna pay
true.
me minimum wage, I'm putting in the bare minimum effort.
That's
I've
what
always
I
looked at it the
do.
opposite way. Like if I go into a company and they're paying me minimum wage, I do everything that I can to get promoted. Hi, my name is Todd. I am 29 years old. I am a real estate investor and a YouTuber, and I make about $1.4 million per year. When you
Damn.
grow up the way I did with no money and your mom is struggling and crying herself to sleep every night because you can't pay the bills, that takes a toll on you as a kid and seeing that struggle. I got my first job when I was 12 years old, literally shoveling horse poop for $3 an hour. And I looked at myself when I was 12 years old and I was like, you've got to make $1 million a year by the time you're 30.
My name is Sean. I'm 23 years old. I'm a musician and content creator, and I make minimum wage at a
God
retail
damn,
job.
my aiming was
If
horrible.
I wasn't having to work every day to pay my rent, then I would have more time to make music and
Shit.
connect with people and find venues to perform my music. And if I had the money, I would be able to market and
Yep,
promote my
I was
music
say
so
that.
that it could reach a wider audience.
Shit, you can
For me, my
get better
mindset
producers
is
or some shit for
working
that
minimum
for
wage
more
is
money.
always temporary. It's always been like, okay, we work minimum wage, but we're gonna work harder to get promoted, and then we're gonna do something else with our lives.
Many, many, many years ago, you could go live off the land. You didn't have to work for somebody in order to survive. All the land is taken. It's in federal land. You can't go fishing in these federal streams. You can't do that. So that's not possible at scale. In order to survive, you must work for someone else. That forces wages down, right? People can't just
God,
go,
this guy
F you,
just
I'm
seems
not
like-
gonna work, I'm gonna chill and work on my novel or do whatever. So that's the part where I agree with you. I'm a supporter of UBI so that people aren't forced to work. And where I disagree is that we don't pay people based on what they need. And you were kind of pointing to this. I give the minimum effort if you pay me minimum wage. But there's certain jobs that are not worth $15 an hour. They're just frankly not worth it.
Why
Maybe
not?
they're worth $5. Maybe they're worth $2. I want
Why?
you to watch TV for an hour in your house and tell me how many commercials come up because I'm doing a survey. I want to pay you $7 an hour. You think I should have to pay you $15 an hour for that? Or would you take
Yes.
$7 an hour to sit on your couch and count commercials that show up on the television?
I mean, yeah, I would take any money.
Okay, so everybody here agreed that it should be $15 an hour minimum wage.
Yeah.
But by making the wage $15 an hour, you just eliminated a job that he's willing to do.
More money, more problems.
Oh, but an argument I can use against that is that yes, you are kind of eliminating a job for raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, but a lot more people will get help from raising that minimum wage to $15 an hour. So that's a horrible argument. I would definitely raise the minimum wage to $50 an hour to help a lot more people than, to not raise it and just help just a couple people.
More money, more problems, but that's a path that I'm willing to take on because the problems that come along with not having money, I can't imagine going back there. I made it a point to position myself adjacent to people who I felt like I could learn from. I remember parking my little Chevy Cruze up off of Griffith Observatory in Hollywood Hills just to be around money.
Be like ODB, more money, more problem, my ass.
You guys mind if I start?
Yeah, please.
A lot of the problems in my life would be solved with just, not even if I was rich, but just like a little bit more money. I would just have so much less stress and less things to worry about, and I wouldn't be finding myself in these situations where I'm worried about how am I going to pay rent, how am I going to get gas to drive, how am I going to eat.
More money, like more social responsibility, right? Going back to
What does that mean?
like if you're a billionaire, then you have social responsibility to take care of people who might have less than you.
Really? I'm not seeing that. In
Yeah.
modern
You
day
have
life.
billionaire beef.
In,
You
in
got a
mo-
billionaire
modern day
beef.
life, what are billionaires?
Yeah.
I want to add real quick to
Please
what you were
explain
saying,
one
that
thing.
I had my first felony when I was 14 years old. I had gotten a DUI in 2018, so I was still going in and out of courthouses. I'm struggling trying to get a job, applying, getting interviews, getting a job offer, background check, offer rescinded, and that hurts a lot. But I'm over here watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and Yolanda Hadid's daughter just so happens to also get a DUI, but she's taking off in her modeling career like it was just a hiccup. I'm also seeing cases of affluenza,
True.
where this kid driving his dad's truck drunk
that one
killed
girl.
someone, and he gets off for affluenza, which
like
means
8
you're
months
too
in
rich
prison.
to know what's good or bad, so you don't get any
Oh, I've
repercussions.
never.
Yeah, it
So
was
to
in
me-
Hollywood too.
I agree with my punishments. I messed up, and I will accept
But
it.
you wanted to be fair treatment.
Exactly,
Yeah,
because
you've
when
done
I
your
see
time.
that, it's just slap in the face. Like, what is the justice system? That's not just.
And it reminds me of the whole big pharma situation about the opioid crisis in the Midwest. How I think Johnson and Johnson and like other pharmaceutical companies who pretty much made the opioid crisis a thing. They just got a slap on the wrist for causing like thousands and like not, I don't know if 1,000 but hundreds of people like dying because they overdosed on their drugs, and yeah, they just had to pay like $1 million, which is nothing to them, which is absolutely nothing to them. So that is definitely a rich bias in the system, and it's definitely that's definitely one big reason why I don't agree with more money, more problems.
Listen, I like the song More Money, More Problems.
I like it too.
It's a jam.
I love
But
the song.
it's really more money, different problems.
Yes.
And that's a cut.
We did it.
Oh, they ain't hugging. Damn, they ain't hugging.
Is it Python?
No, we don't cover softwares.
Damn, they just let. Well, maybe they didn't hug because it's COVID. Because I know a lot of Jubilee videos, they always hug at the end. But oh shit, let me kill this dude first. Don't peek out here. Fuck, I'm dead. Anyways, that's the end of that, and that's the end of this. Well, before. So overall, I think the poor people can definitely have used a little bit better argument. I think they did pretty well overall. Especially that comrade, that leftist comrade I see. I forget his name, but he did pretty well in the beginning, arguing against the rich people. And I think I've seen a lot of rich people definitely more agreed with the poor people than the poor agreed with the rich. And I think a lot of those rich people were just I don't say out of line, but just like they said some shit where just like, damn, do you even like understand what the fuck you're saying right now? Which, yeah, and definitely that dude who was part of the record industry and also has some hedge funds, yeah, I can easily tell he's a massive piece of shit. And yeah, and thankfully we had the comrade in there, and he did pretty good overall. And hopefully I gave you all some arguments to use against some of these rich people overall. And yeah, that's the end of the video. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. And I'll see you next time. Like, what the hell is this? Can sex workers and virgins see eye to eye? Why is this a versus? Why is this a middle ground? Just because you're a virgin doesn't mean you're against sex workers. Like, I feel like this is just the not thought out like versus, because I don't see how they would have any like massive disagreements unless like the versions were like religious versions, how they don't like have sex before marriage, and like they see sex workers as committing sin. That's the only way I can see it, and I think that's probably the conversation to probably have, which is more religious shit than virgins shit. So I think that's a little weird.